I believe we're live. Let's just wait. Oh, look, it says you are live. Beresford, Dan, how you doing today?
Good day, mates.
Welcome to the Friday Live. I feel like last Friday was so long ago. So long ago.
When we had our first bout of internet issues.
Yeah, plugged in. I had a small hiccup right when I plugged in here and we started our call. Oh, wait, you know what? We're still on Discord audio.
I sent you the link, I think.
All right, give me a second here, guys.
Stand by. He's got to switch to something less sketchy in the audio department. I am very tired this week, folks. So if my tolerance for BS, I've been working like 12, 14 hours a day on the regular, and it's not particularly fun. This is my fourth shot of espresso, and it's doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, don't piss Dylan off, okay? Just don't piss him
there's
off.
Dabby. There's Dabby. Darren, I told Aiden.
You didn't tell me much.
I told him I said I got to spring a wild card on him partway through the stream because I said we got some stuff to talk about. And
I'm really
Darren's sitting there right now going,
yeah. Do I want to know? I'm not sure. No?
I'll put it this way: it's made me rethink my potential $3,000 to $5,000 investment into I was going to say isotope antelope.
Oh no!
So I'm not settled on it, but it certainly made me think about it a little bit more heavily.
Oh no! By the way, Dylan, I don't know if you can. What do you think of the audio? Dylan can't see me.
I'm gonna hear you.
What do you think of the audio from this microphone? Any thoughts? Anything standing out? Anything kind of like meh?
That sounds like a handheld.
It is. It is a handheld.
Sennheiser?
No. This is one of the cheapest handhelds you can buy. This is a Samson Q2U.
It's not bad for something that's not really for us.
Okay, so it's a handheld dynamic USB. It's also an XLR, which I'm actually
it's a USB.
Yeah, the reason I'm using the XLR is this is the one thing I haven't tested so far. I've got a video that I'm working on for this, and I've been doing everything with the USB, and everyone loves the USB on this, but I think it's been about 5 years since I've used one of these, and every time I plug it in and use it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's actually kind of good. For a $75 USB dynamic microphone, I don't understand why more people don't buy this mic.
At some point, you should record a quick 30 copy on that and then send it to me, and I'll process it, and I'll see if I can sort of get it, because it sounds quite good right now. I mean,
yeah.
I'm also tired, so my ears are not.
No, but I mean, I can even hear it. It's a little bass. It's got a little bit of a boost in the bass.
This is normal for a lot of dynamics.
Yeah, it cradles my voice nicely. It's a little muddy, which you can just pop out with an EQ. I don't find it's overly sibilant. In fact,
I'm evaluating it as a non-processed signal, which leads us very good segue into one of the things that we were going to talk about. I hadn't even planned that. As I was saying, I was like, oh, we're about to also talk about post-processing. What are the odds?
Let's do it. So Dan asks, is 16-bit, right? I don't know, actually. I haven't looked up. I haven't written the script on this.
It's $75. I'm going to go on a limb and say yeah.
I wouldn't say so. Let me see. So I will look it up live here. So this is me writing my script live. Specs. So what do you got? You want to kind of talk about what Bandrew was talking about earlier, right?
Yeah, honestly, that video just literally came up in my recommendeds this morning in bed, and I saw came out 2 days ago, and I was like, oh, interesting. I was like, I wonder if Aiden's seen this. So I watched it, and I was like, I think because whenever I watch, because I know, and I feel like everybody does this, who's in the professional side. When you know someone's on the level, you hold them to a bit of a higher standard for information than the average person.
Yeah.
So I went into it with a very critical attitude, kind of waiting to be like, all right, what's it gonna say? What's and not to say that Bandrew ever says anything stupid, but I was like, all right, what's gonna be a little off base? And no, I think his wording, as forensic as I was with dissecting every sentence coming out of his mouth, it was very on point in what post-processing is for, and that post-processing is not to it's not to change the sound of the mic. It's not to change the sound of the voice. It's to polish the existing sound and remove inconsistencies like sibilance and room tone, if there's any in there, and like little things like that. But he's right in pointing out that a lot of people, especially who are new, will buy a shitty mic and assume that post-processing can make a shitty mic sound like a not shitty mic.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's not. It's a fascinating perspective as well, because there is a massive, and I've said this before on the live stream, there's a massive difference between somebody like myself, somebody that is more voice than talent. Like I have talent. I can produce audio, but I am not a producer. And there's a huge distinction between somebody that can kind of clean up his audio to send out a demo, or clean up his audio to send out whatever. But I'm not producing audio. I'm not setting up.
Yeah, you're not the one responsible for post processing.
No,
most
and
of the time.
but that's a super important thing that a lot of people don't understand, is they're looking to post process like a producer. Oh, I did it just like some guy. No, you didn't. You don't just grab a hammer and build a house. You have to learn how to swing the hammer first. You have to learn how to use the tools. And there's so many tools that most people don't know about.
Every time that I'm talking to new voiceover people, there's this, and it's kind of, it makes me sad in a way, because there's this pressure that a lot of voice people seem to have of like, well, how do I like process my thing? How do I get myself? It's like, that's not your job.
No.
Unless you're doing stuff for an audiobook, because then this is pretty much the same job.
But even that's really minor.
Oh, very minimal. I mean, you're more focusing on metrics and getting those on point, like if you're doing stuff for Audible or something. But most of the time, I said to this guy, I said, if you're sending stuff to any marketing agency or other people doing stuff with your stuff, they're going to deal with it themselves. The only exception that I will do is if I'm sending voiceovers to video people, because they often don't know what the fuck they're doing when it comes to processing a voice. So I do their job for them.
I'll actually step into that role as well. Really quick, Steve Sarich from Thailand. Welcome back, Steve. I'm using a USB mic, the Icon. What post-processing should I use? EQ.
So before we lose it, I'm on the Samson page. It's 16-bit.
44,
48, 16.
So 48, 16-bit. But again, $75 mic for podcasters. And I'll say this again. Podcasters don't need much.
No.
The thing people really get caught up with is, well, if I have better audio, I'm going to have a better podcast, or I'm going to have better content. No. This $75 mic would suit almost anybody. And it doesn't sound bad. There's also a part of a review when you're doing it that kind of looks at the promise that is made with the microphone. So like, and I got called out. Liberty Dude did this, and I brought this up a couple weeks ago. Why do you compare one mic? You say one mic's disappointing when the other mic, which is cheaper than that, you're super impressed by. Well, it's because the promise that is made by both of those microphones. If one microphone just promises you to give you better audio than your laptop, and it does it, I'm impressed. That's what it did.
It's not the sound that is impressive. It's the value proposition.
And that I tried bringing value proposition into my videos, and it seems nobody wants to see value proposition when you're talking about microphones.
Bang for buck.
But it's such an important...
That's what it's all about, is bang for buck.
And it's such an important factor between the Bumblebee 2, which I was underwhelmed by because it's just another USB mic that sounds okay. But you can literally like throw a dart in a microphone store and get another Bumblebee 2. The AKG Aura is one. There's so many of them at that price point. How do you rate them? And don't get me started on like the promises of like could be used for voiceover. No, don't use a Bumblebee 2 for voiceover.
Well, it's they're broadcast mics, Aiden.
Jesus. Okay, so let's get back. So before Steve, I will answer your question, but let's get back to some of the thoughts on Bandrew's video. Anything else?
I think a lot of people will lean. I think, another important point that Bandrew, there's not much that I can say that I don't agree with from what Bandrew was saying. I think there was one little thing, I can't remember what it is now because I'm loopy, but like I think there was one small thing that was really just a technicality. I was like, I don't know if I agree with that. But like the other point that he touched on that I think was really good was get the sound right going in. And he did a thing. I wasn't watching the video. I was just listening to it while I was kind of getting ready this morning. But he kind of recorded one thing through his U87 AI properly, and then he recorded one thing improperly, like away from the mic and like with reflections, and then post-processed it to try and compensate. And obviously it didn't work.
No.
So that, get it right going in. You can't polish a turd, all of those analogies. And that's really important. I think getting a good room, getting a good read, getting your mic in the right place, all of those things are actually a lot more. If you do that, post-processing is going to be easy and also minimally necessary.
With that in mind, I'll answer Steve now. The post-processing you should be using on any piece of audio, and I'm taking for granted that you're just doing some sort of voice work with the icon. First thing you do is EQ, then a little bit of compression, and a very, very small amount of compression. If you need to do some noise cleanup, you can use I Like Isotope's voice denoise.
Everybody does.
Yeah. Just a mild voice denoise with isotope, but if you already have crappy noise in, maybe you should try to avoid recording in a room that's noisy.
Yes, that's
if
ideal.
you have a reverberant room, meaning you're getting a lot of reflections, you need to change that. You can't change that in post. The only things you're doing in post is you're just cleaning the audio slightly. You're just giving it you're EQing a little bit of the mud out, or
spit and polish.
Yeah, spit and polish. Or post-processing doesn't fix audio. And I think that's the perfect
one
example.
of the purposes, I think a good perspective to have is the human voice is incredibly inconsistent. It's one of the most inconsistent, which is kind of what we like about it. It's so dynamic, and it's so, if you try to do the same read twice and make it the same, it's just impossible. So part of the role of post-processing is to, in the same way that a mic preamp's job is to take a mic's very low output level and bring it up to line level, that is a preamp's job. Post-processing is to take the voice and bring it to a certain standard of quality that is consistent, like the other things. Like if you have a voice that's unprocessed and you're pairing it with a music bed that has been mastered and has had like 30 different people involved in the manufacturing of, which is super consistent and solid, the voice is going to get buried. It's going to be ebbing and flowing in weird spots. So part of the role of post-processing is to equalize, not to be confused with EQing, but equalize the sound of a voice with the sound of everything else that is around the voice, both in front of it, behind it, and in tandem with it.
Yeah. I love Liberty, dude. Shut up, podcasters need. The need is real. True. Bangs paints all his mics red so they sound louder. I think Bangs also gave up, said, but I need to sound less manly and water down my sheer sexual magnetism. Bangs has never outed themselves as male or female.
As any particular gender.
Post-processing should be thought of in audio like it is in photography. Why isn't? I don't know. And that's a good point. Like the same thing with post-processing, with the exception of some extreme stuff, but you can also get some extreme post-processing for audio that's done.
Well, and I think there's and we talk about this a lot when we talk about compression, right? There's using a compressor as a leveling amplifier, which is as a processing tool, and then there's as an effect. And there's two very different approaches, like the 1176 sort of all buttons in setting, for example. You would never use that. I don't know if Aiden, if you've ever heard an 1176 with the all buttons in, sort of the 4 ratio buttons or the radio, pushed in. It's a very, very aggressive sound, but that's what we love about it. That's what we love about it. That's, whatever British engineer years ago discovered that was a hack that you could do with the original LN was a bloody genius. Because now that's become one of the hallmark points of the 1176. But you would never use that for tracking, and you would never print that going in. That's purely an effect that you put, I don't know, like a drum bus, right, or something, or maybe a really heavy rock vocal or something. But processing to taste, right? And it's kind of like, I think the photography analogy is great. I mean, I've seen some photos that the composition was great, but they've just been light roomed to shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing? It was, and then they'll show me the raw, and
Yeah.
I'm like, it looks fine. It doesn't even have bloody profile. You could just put that out. And they're like, well, but the colors aren't there. I'm like, the colors are real though. We want real.
Watch some. Yeah, learn how to do it. The
Yeah,
eye
well,
is
learn how to do it and learn when to say that's enough.
well. It's the eye. It's training your eye, training your ear. A good example is I bought. Okay. By the way, I've heard it pronounced two ways: cajon, cajon,
Cajon.
cajon. I've
That's
heard
the Cuban pronunciation.
yes. I've heard multiple Cajun, cajon. I've heard them all, and
I only know because I was corrected on it by a Cuban.
okay. Well, no, that's fine. But I was because I was looking to buy one, and I was watching some videos on it, and I heard multiple different like pronunciations. I've always called it Cajun. I've always called it a Cajun.
Yeah, which is fair because that's how it's spelled.
Yeah. Cajon, I'm gonna stick with because I asked for a Cajun when I called up Long and McQuaid, and they're like, "Yeah, okay, we got one in the back." They didn't even correct me, and they're the first ones to usually correct me. Anyways, I picked one up, and I realized as I was talking to Dylan about it that my ear isn't sophisticated enough. Like I haven't developed the ear for telling the difference between a cheap and a more expensive cajon. And that's okay. That just means I need to play more of them to figure it out. And it's the same thing with most types of audio, most instruments, voice, doing EQ, all that is you need to develop that. You need to do it a lot. Once again, you can't just grab a hammer and build a house. So, yeah. Let's get to some of these texts. You can only polish the turd in post. Don't you hate it when the cheapest mics sound so good after spending thousands? No, that's Dr. D. By the way, I haven't seen Dr. D here. How you doing, buddy? I like to think of it as it's celebrated. A good example is a P120. One of my favorite microphones that I've ever reviewed on the channel, the P120. It's a $99 mic. I love that mic. However, it's time and a place for everything, and expensive mics have their roles as well. Expensive mics have their uses, and they tend to be a little easier to work with throughout the whole process. So, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with liking a U87 or liking a P120. It's learning how to use the tool. Oh, by the way, I just saw this down. TechMed, cheers, buddy. Thanks. $5 or €5 super chat. Appreciate that.
So
Bangs.
I think, I was just going to continue on the post-processing talk. I think because one of the hardest things, and this goes for this goes for color grading videos, this goes for developing photos, and for processing any kind of sound element, is it's hard to know when you're new to the process. It's hard to know when you've hit too much. Or when you're going overboard. So I think one good thing I've seen, I didn't learn this way. I learned the long way, is for EQing, for example, limit yourself to 3 bands. 3 bands of EQ, no more than that. You know, I know most EQs come with 10 bands or 8 bands, 6 bands. Limit yourself to 3. 3 EQ points, that's it. And try to make the voice sound good with just moving and adjusting those points. And most times, you can actually do fine with just 3 nodes. I use more than that because now I know where that line is not to cross of too much. But little things like that, even on a compressor, like, limit yourself to a ratio of 3-to-1 and don't allow the gain reduction to go past 10 decibels and see if you can make a voice sound. Because that's usually the telltale sign of a noob with post-processing is the EQ is like this. and the compressor is lobbing off like 45 dB because they don't know how to set the threshold and they're setting the ratio to like 8-to-1 for a VO thing. Like, what are you doing?
See, I'm not the greatest with compression. I've always used 4-to-1.
4-to-1's fine. 4-to-1 for a voice is, in fact, for like an 1176, which is great on voice and vocals. 4-to-1 is the lowest ratio, so you don't really have a choice but to go 4-to-1. I think it's a 4, 8, 12, 20, and then some that have the separate all buttons in button. But so yeah, I think the key is limiting yourself at first, trying to make it sound good, and then Same thing goes for miking. I mean, the first time you mic a drum kit, mic the drum kit with one mic. Try to make drums kit, which is possible. It is possible. There's a very weird place that you can actually put the mic on a drum kit and get a good sound. And strangely enough, it's underneath the ride. It's underneath the ride on the right side of the player.
Nice.
Pointing towards the snare. That's the sweet spot. It sounds weird. Trust me, it works. I've done it. And
That's
then once you get it to sound good with one mic, then put two mics. Put a stereo pair and see if you can get it to sound good. And then three mics, and then eventually you'll get up to double miking every drum. But learn how to do more with less. Yeah. And then that will tell you how to do less with more. That's kind of my philosophy.
Deep. I love it. Bangs, there's a new sound-wide intro bundle from Isotope out right now with the Elements Suite plus a lot of other plugins for $50. Yeah, Isotope does a lot of those deals that are fantastic, especially if you're getting into stuff.
There's a lot of good deals right now. Also, any guitar players in the house, Native Instruments has Guitar Rig 6 on sale for I think like 129 or 100 and some odd bucks Canadian. And Guitar Rig, as much as it's not my main driver, is Amplitube by IK Multimedia. Amplitube 5 is the version I'm on. The Guitar Rig is also great. I've used Guitar Rig on a lot of stuff. I know some guitar players that swear by it in the studio.
I'm gonna have to pick that up. Actually, I think it's
I've been half off
spending money hand over fist lately. Like I'm buying an MKH 416. I have to. There's a couple things I want to do with it, but so I might as well. But damn, like it's just the cajon, the bass. How do you pronounce fajita? The J is pronounced Vegeta.
Isn't that a character from Dragon Ball Z?
That's
I
Vegeta.
Just dated myself.
Oh my God, man!
Vegeta.
Come on, Dragon Ball Z. You don't know Dragon Ball Z? Oh, how dare you!
I just went there.
Ken, I just bought the Rode NTH 100s and I absolutely love them. Yes, cable noise can be annoying. Oh yeah, but it doesn't just sit around doing a podcast. It doesn't bother me. I actually purchased, I think, who was it? I think it was Liberty Dude told me that you could get the cable from the Audio-Technica ATH. So I ordered that. It doesn't work. It almost gets in there. I can get one side playing, but it doesn't go all the way in. So looks like I'm going to be waiting for Rode to release a coiled cable. It sucks, but I love them too. Can Rode NTH 100 cable be clipped to your shirt or something to limit those microphonics? I've had luck with that on other phones. It's a pain. I don't know. That's actually a good idea. I move around a lot, and I like the full movement of the cables, so that's why I prefer coiled cables. When you move around a lot and it's clipped to you, you don't get the full movement of the cable. But if you don't clip it to you, you're running over it with your chair. There's a ton of things. I hate just those long cables. It sucks. Dylan, Midnight Wolf, I only use a 3-band EQ in live, and I get it to sound like people with 24-channel EQs.
I literally just replied to that.
Also, the new Maono AUPM 500 microphone is pretty sweet for a $150 mic. Looks like a Lewitt 240. Of course, they ripped it off of the Lewitt, but it isn't near bright, very warm, rich sound. Maono has been desperately trying to get me to review some of their products, but they're trying to get me to review them with the promise of free products. So they're basically saying, you and all your friends can have whatever products you want if you review these. And that is, as soon as that's said to me, I'm like, no, I'm out. Like, you can send me a microphone, go, just keep it. But if you're telling me to walk through the store and fill up my boots, no, thank you. I don't. That's weird, and that starts to get into that uncomfortable.
Well, it starts to get into the phase of we will whore you out.
Yeah, and like, I don't want to be beholden to a company for sure. Definitely not Maono. Like if I don't know, Universal Audio wants to, or Sennheiser. By the way, also, funny story about Universal Audio. Remind me to tell you that. It's actually, I get to call out a company here. Which, actually, you know what? We're pretty much done with comments. So, here. Universal Audio, I contacted them about a month ago. And I got the Volt. The 276 Volt that I did a review on. And what had happened was I called the distributor for UA in Canada or in my region, And he said, sure, because I wanted to get the SD1 and I wanted to review that with a universal audio interface that was compatible with it. And he said, sure, that's not a problem, but we don't have any quite yet. So do you want a Volt 276 just to fill the time? And I said, yeah, sure. So he told me, okay, go pick it up at the retailer and you can return it to the retailer, which, funny enough, was the Long and McQuaid that I've been picking stuff up from and dropping off. And I got the Volt 276, brought it home, did the review, brought it back. And apparently UA saw the video and they noticed that I told everybody that I'd gotten the product from UA, which, as far as I was concerned, I got it from UA. No, apparently the company that I gotten it from was pissed off that I didn't say I got it from them, so they're no longer going to do business with me. UA, that is. UA actually dropped me because I refused to take down the Volt 276 video and change it.
Wait, so UA did or UA's distributor did?
UA's distributor. Sorry,
Okay.
that's fair. That's fair.
Because I say as we know, the manufacturer and the distributors are not always
Very,
in line.
very much so. So
I was gonna say, don't go and kibosh UA because you might.
no,
regret-
yeah, no. I apologize. That is true. As the distributor, so I got an email from him. He's like, you need to change the video. I said, I'm not taking a video down to swap out like 2 seconds worth. If this was a paid thing, yes, I would take the video down, re-upload it with the appropriate information. But as far as I'm concerned, I also talked to him, the UA rep, got the thing from UA. And he literally said, well, good luck with your channel. And that was that.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't get it a UA
That's
SD1.
kind of snarky.
I don't get it, though. I do. Like, anyways.
Kind of snarky. Plus, like, again, like, I don't know. I'm generally a little skittish on shit-talking public figures, even if they're, like, kind of
It's not
introductory tier.
It's not a shit talk. It's kind of a, like...
No, I'm saying the other way around. I'm saying them.
Oh, yeah. Like
them kiboshing you, because it's like you could just turn around and just lambaste them on social media.
The price of doing business is very simple. Is I wanted to borrow product. Like that's all. Like
it's not a complicated arrangement.
No, and 95% of my audience is in the US. And then the other 5% is split up from the rest of the world. Canada takes up, I think, 2-point-some odd percent of that. Oh. Me mentioning the retailer that I got it from would have made zero difference.
Or even people in Canada aren't going to care who the distributor is.
No, they're going to buy it from Amazon.
They're going to buy it from, or from an actual retailer. Not,
I love this, Bangs. So Aiden's price is not
I was laughing about that. It might be my favorite Bangs comment ever. It's probably
yeah. I mean, you're not going to entice me too much with a bunch of Mayono crap. I'm just saying. It's you know what? But it goes for any other company. If Rode calls me and says, "Hey, do a review on this," and if you do, you can have anything you want.
So sketchy.
Yeah,
so
no,
sketchy.
and I don't need that kind of sketch.
Even if Sennheiser did that, I'd be like, all right, Sennheiser, I now have lost respect for you as a company.
And do you know how many views I would get if I did the Mayono podcast board? Whatever they call it. I forget what the name of it is. What are you doing
3.
the thumbs down for?
3 views.
Is it? No, it would garner quite a bit. Cheap product goes really well on YouTube.
But also, how searchables is Mayono? Like what's the searchability rate is of that?
They've got a Rodecaster Pro ripoff. It's
pretty.
A lot of people want to see me review it, and I refused to purchase it because that was the first time I talked to them, and they're like, hey, "Do you want to review this?" I'm like, "Sure." They're like, "Great, send us the money for it, and we'll send it to you." And I'm like, "No, I don't want the Mayono. Sorry." So yeah. I'm probably not going to be doing much business with them. I've reviewed one of their mics, the AU04. That's about it. So, okay. So, Journalism Competition and Preservation Act. I'm missing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a whole other conversation happening in the comments right now.
All right.
So speaking of calling out companies, me and Dab Burke. We got to call out Antelope. So he got the Zengo. So last night we were on the horn for a little bit because the reason that we were on I was just touching base, but a very large, as he can attest, a very large percentage of us being on the horn yesterday had to do with He couldn't get the SM7 to work with it, which I was like, what's going on? And then he's saying he plugged in the cloud lifter and he was getting nothing. I was like, did you turn on phantom power? And he's like, no. I said, okay, well, the cloud lifter needs, as most mic activators, as they are amplifiers, need phantom power. And so I was walking him through that, and he's like, well, how do I do that? I said, well, if there's like a 48-volt button somewhere. He's like, nope. I'm like, okay, so I got to pull up the manual. So first pet peeve, and this is one of the reasons I hate overly simplified, is I hate companies, and this isn't just interfaces, this is any digital piece of equipment that has too few buttons, so they have one button that does 85 things. Basically, hold it for 3 seconds, or hold it for 5, or hold it with a combination of
you can get good with it. You can like now, I mean, the Apollo interface is just that.
And that's why I hate interfaces like that. Now, the rack mount Apollos are not that way.
No,
because they're a little bit, which is why I'm a fan of that style of interface, because they're often a little easier to use. But so first peeve is that. Now I have to say the build quality of it, from what I saw and from what Darren was saying, is quite good. Yep. It's a very solid unit. Weighs, a couple of bricks worth of weight, which I like for little desktop things like that. I don't want them moving around, especially with all the cables hanging out the back of them. And then also the sound quality was good. So we finally got the SM7 working, which is great. So at one point I said to him, okay, let's load up, because I guarantee there's one of them somewhere. Let's load up the software control panel for it, because I guarantee turning on and off some of these things is going to be a lot easier via the software interface than the hardware interface anyway. So sure enough, we went and installed the launcher, installed the software control panel, and sure enough, it's like, okay, there's your phase invert, or your polarity reverse switch, as some people will call them, which is still accurate, and the phantom power, and then a mic emulation thing. The phantom power thing, you could turn off the phantom power in the interface, but you couldn't turn it. You had to open up a separate window, because you could click the button and it wouldn't turn back on again. But you could turn it off with that little button for some. So it'd be stupid. And then in the mic emulation thing, the knobs wouldn't turn, and there was no indication as to why that they wouldn't turn.
That took me a while to get set up. The mic emulator. By the way, the Zengo was the one that I reviewed. I don't know if you remember.
I know. That's why I'm bringing it up.
So I found the emulator to be a gigantic pain in the butt, because you almost need somebody from the company to walk you through, like,
which is like, hey guys, if you guys don't want to have good support, that's fine. Just build more intuitive software, and you won't have as many support claims.
And the funny thing is like, and that was the one thing it's not intuitive, but it's also not counterintuitive. So it wasn't like so ridiculous that I was throwing my hands up in the air. I got the gist of it, and once I figured it out, I was like, "Oh, okay, now I know." The problem is you didn't have a great big manual.
Other than some of the finickiness of the like the actual software control panel, the design of it is pretty standard, which I like. It's got the tabs for your various output mixes, and then you've got it's every software control panel more or less, like the Focusrite one, the Avid one, they're all the same. So I kind of like that they follow the same scheme. The preamp section is nice and concise, but still gives you all the things that, it gives you everything you need to know, the levels, the actual meters, your different switches. But there were just some weird little things about the way that it works, just things that just flat out should not operate that way. And on the software panel side, the hardware seemed to work more or less okay, although both Darren and I were getting quite frustrated trying to figure out a way to get phantom, because at one point, like, he was trying to turn phantom power on, and then he accidentally switched on high impedance mode, trying to turn on phantom. So it's like, I'm not getting anything. I was like, because it's looking at the TS port on the back. That's why. But like, just stupid things like that. It's like, come on, just put 3 extra buttons, guys. Like, it's not hard.
Well, Bang says, would that be to prevent zapping mics accidentally with phantom power? I'm gonna say
no, because
at that price point,
because maybe. But at the same time, there's like $100,000 boards that have the button right there. So I don't. At
that price point, the kid gloves are off. I'm sorry. Like, as far as I'm concerned, did he get the one with the bundle with the mic?
No, I think he just got he got the Zengo Synergy Core 4x8.
The mic emulation needs to have the microphone with it. You need to register the microphone. That's the problem. Otherwise, mic emulation will not work at all.
He's a what? Well, sorry, I missed. What did you say?
The mic emulation will not work unless you have the microphone. The microphone that's bundled with it, because it's an emulation mic. That's the
Well,
point of it.
then so obviously, so this is where I go back to critical mode. So obviously the software is smart enough, the hardware is smart enough to differentiate regular mic from emulator mic.
Oh,
right?
well, you've got to register
So
the mic.
if that's the case, it should not allow you to open up the microphone because it doesn't give you any indication that you need a
But
mic.
then you won't go out and buy the microphone, man.
But they don't tell you to buy the microphone. It just doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to make the connection. Oh, there must be like they could spit out an error message if you try to click anything that says, "Hey, here's the product you need to do this."
Edge
That's
Solo.
totally fair. It's still sketchy, but it's like, no, communicate, guys. Like,
Yeah, see, nothing's intuitive, but nothing was counterintuitive either.
no, I think it's like the product is still, I think, worthy of the buy, but there's definitely, as you touched on your review, there's definitely some things to be aware of. So the reason I'm rethinking my possible investment into the Orion 32 HD is because the Zen Go, for all intents and purposes, relatively is very simple.
Yeah.
And it's still complicated. It should be very simple. So I'm thinking, okay, that's 4x8. The Orion 32 is 64 by 64.
Yep.
How hellish is that going to be?
Well,
now,
I mean,
it's also
yeah.
a much more expensive product. So I feel like they would have invested more R&D into that than they probably did for the Zen Go.
I
would
don't
hope.
know.
I
can imagine maybe not. And here, you know what the problem once again is nothing's intuitive, but nothing's counterintuitive. So once you know how to use it, you're going to have a learning curve with it. But once you know how to use it, it'll just be, okay, that's how you do it, right? You got to hold your mouth this way when you turn in the nut.
Yeah.
So I think, and it almost seems like they built themselves on that model, which is annoying, but at the same time, I mean, if you want what they've got, do it, right? Like,
Yeah, well, it's hard with that tier of interface because it's at that point where, quite frankly, there are interfaces that are cheaper that are much more intuitive and user friendly, and that have this a comparable level of quality. So that's the problem.
Yeah. All right. Well, and you know what? I agree
most
with
of it,
you.
like 95% of it, is totally fine. Like it's a well-made interface. It's robust. The quality is great. The design of the software visually and intuitively is fine. There's just a couple little things programmatically that would be easy enough for them to fix with a software revision.
Yes.
Which is why I'm bringing it up. Like if it's a hardware thing, it's like, well, the product's released. What are you going to do? But for software stuff, all of that is fluid. Like you can release an update at any point and fix some of these things. So hopefully, I'm actually contemplating sending Antelope an email and basically saying,
Do
hey,
it.
not being a dick about it, and just being like, hey guys, some things that you might want to think about.
You can do it through me too. I'm more than happy to.
I'll send you a couple paragraphs and you can fire it over.
See if they want to send us both an Orion and we'll go
then we
from
can
there,
make it. Yeah, and then I'll promise never to shit talk them again.
No, that's not going to happen before anybody jumps on me.
That's not ethical.
Shrimps here. Paul, the only credible reviewer that has reviewed Mayono gear once is the production prophet himself, Curtis Judd, albeit 4 years ago. Mayono embedded it on the influencer portion of their site.
Nice. That's nice. That's when you know you've made it.
Yeah.
Although I feel like in the case of Mayono, that's probably not hard to do.
I love the production prophet himself, Curtis Judd. That's amazing.
Production prophet.
If he doesn't have that in his
Prod prophet. Prod fit.
So I the whole title of this video is Blue Yeti Screwed Me Again. I guess we should talk about that, eh?
At some point.
So Dylan, I actually sent you an email or a message earlier.
I saw your short yesterday. I watched your little short.
Did you hear the distortion on that first hit?
Yeah.
Okay, that was with the gain at 2.
2. Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not lowering the gain lower than 2 to record a song. And also, the latency, and this is why I don't think I'm doing any more USB mics for music. The latency was so bad.
That's pretty standard. Most USB mics have latency issues.
And
they tend to skimp out.
You can lower it down, but then you might be like not getting the best recording.
You might get some clicks and pops
and
shit.
So I'm like, well, if I took an ear off, I could do it. However, taking an ear off, I can't hear the quality as well. So I missed some of the distortion. Then I go listen back and, oh, look, there's the distortion we were talking about. I can't do it. I'm so sick of the Blue Yeti. I'm so sick of it. Screwed me again. So I was saying, I was just opening these. By the way, the resonance in this Q2U is pretty bad. The handling.
I'm noticing some. Yeah. Thumpity thump.
Bought myself another XM8500. So, Dylan, here's the fun part: is I can always send you these mics. You could no. Okay, Dylan wants.
What are you saying? What am I doing with them?
Well, we'll see. I'm gonna find out how deep I can go on this song and get it out. I kind of want to do it within the next couple weeks, anyways. And I just want it to be simple. I bought some shakers. I've got an acoustic bass, acoustic guitar. I now have a cajon. So I think that's enough for the song. Like that should be more than enough. I wrote the bass line, which one of the reasons I was really pissed off about the Blue Yeti, I spent time like working on my bass line, working on kind of the arrangement of this song, sit down to record it, got all hyped up, set everything up, and shit. So, Dimebag, screw me twice. Okay, it's a Q2U. Do a giveaway to the people with extra mics. With what extra mics?
The ones that you know you're never going to use again.
The XM8500 I might actually send to Dylan. The extra
I wouldn't mind it. Don't send me the 1800S because it's going to be a doorstop.
I'm gonna. So the first person that gets microphones is Dylan. The reason is we collaborate, and sometimes I need him to have a specific microphone. So if I have extras, they go straight. Like I've got an extra SEV7s going to Dylan. The XM8500 is probably going to go to Dylan as well. Beyond that, I actually wanted to do some giveaways for members. And the reason was there's some microphones I'm never going to use again, and I'd rather them not sit on the shelf. And I figured once in a while on Discord, just like throw it out to the members, roll a wheel, find out who gets it, and then mail it to them. I might still do that. I haven't figured it out. A couple members trying to talk me out of it, saying it's not worthwhile. I figure it's be a nice little perk to being a member. Is once in a while you get an XM8500 or something thrown at you. So we'll
free
talk.
Toys.
Yeah.
Do like a Vsauce Curiosity box, but with mics.
Yeah, SEV7 is the SM58 killer in my opinion. You see, and that's the thing, like SEV7, I loved it. I don't know if I'm going to choose a favorite handheld dynamic. I really did like the SEV7. However, I don't know if there's a killer for the SM58. It's a microphone. It's a tool. And I like...
And we've proven that it's quite good.
I don't know if there's anything that I would be like, I would refuse an SM58 because it wasn't a V7. That would tell me that it's the killer, right? Like, I would refuse a Behringer XM8500. But I don't know if I'd refuse an SM58. So I don't know. I like the SM58 on voice or on guitar more than the SEV7. That to me was an interesting one. You guys should do an SEV7 song. It'll be like the SM58 situation, but not. Maybe. We'll see. That's actually a good one because I do have to send you one. And it maybe if you're ever in Ottawa again, or maybe we can do something then. Oh my God, that short was painful with how bad the mic was. Yeah, I know. By the way, a couple people messaged me on this. I did the short, but I accidentally left the commercials on. And I was sorry to anyone that had to sit through a freaking commercial just to watch a less than 1 minute video.
I didn't, surprise. I got lucky.
Oh, good. Then I looked at all my other shorts, and they all have commercials on them. So I'm going to be going through. I don't know. I didn't set it with that.
Let's sit through a 30-second spot to watch a 5-second short.
Well, most of them are just under a minute, but like it just seems so disrespectful to a viewer to be like, here, thanks for clicking on the video.
It reminds me of I guess dating myself here talking about cable TV, but it reminds me of like watching a movie or something on A&E, and like they're notorious for having like 10 minutes of movie and 15 minutes of spots, and then 10 minutes of movie and 15 minutes. Like their stop sets are legitimately longer than their actual content breaks. It's kind of hilarious and annoying.
One of the things, Getter, I don't. Anyways, is the SM57 good enough for vocals? Lemmy
Yes.
Kilmeister would say yes.
Yes.
It was his favorite microphone. Also, the SM57 and SM58 are essentially the same microphone.
Yep.
Just a little off.
The only thing is do not use the SM57 as a handheld vocal microphone. If it's on a stand, totally manageable. But there's minimal to no shock absorption, seismic absorption on the capsule whereas the 58 does have a little ring of pneumatic shock absorption in there. So
yeah, if you want, we put out a video, Johnny Cash with an SM58. If you want to hear what's that? Yeah, no kidding.
Shameless
Go
plug.
watch the video. Nobody did.
Yeah, right.
You'll see. You can't do auto repair with an SCV7, right? The SM7 or the SM7B, the SM58. You can hammer nails with. I don't know if I'd hammer a nail with the SCV7. Record everything with an NT2A. That would be interesting. Do you have an NT2A?
No, it's on my list though. I like the NT2A a lot.
Because I was thinking NT1 would be fun too.
You have to get another one for yourself. Because didn't yours break?
I got another one. Rode sent me one.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I reached out to Rode, and once again, they don't even bat an eyelash. They're just like, "Oh, it broke on you? Okay, yeah, we'll send you a new one."
I was gonna say, to Ken's point, the voice coil in the capsule of the 57 is a little lighter. It's also it has a smaller diameter on the voice coil, so the 57 generally reacts more accurately to harsher waveform shapes. I've tried to phrase that as eclectically as I possibly could. But it's true. So 58 tends to have more of a smoothing effect. So if you try to feed in a very aggressive waveform like a steel string guitar, for example, it's still going to sound okay, but it's going to be a little muddier. The 57 will retain some more of that crispness more often than not. So that's probably why, Ken, it sounds a little flatter and less like maybe low heavy. And also, I find the 57 has a slightly less pronounced presence boost, that little transformer boost that the 58 has in the high mids.
I'm gonna give it a bit. I think the NT2A is gonna be a good one. I'll get you the NT2A, Dylan. Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna make you buy a microphone to do a video with me.
I was gonna say if or we could approach Rode and be like, hey. Promotional opportunity.
I'm trying to avoid the process of approaching Yet until I have a proven product. And as far as I'm concerned, we have not.
Right now, it is not a proven product.
I'm switching up. So the last time I did that Johnny Cash video, I was a dick about it. And I think I should have listened to more reason, because there's a few people that came to me and said, why don't you put it this way? And I should have. I wanted the music video to stand alone. And I can see now that was a mistake, and Dylan included was right. Dylan told me, like, why don't we do a precursor to it and kind of set it up, and then we have it. And I think that's the way these videos have to go from here on out, is if it's an original, the original will be the full video. We'll have the precursor to how we did it, some of the challenges we had, and the video at the end. And if it's a cover song, it'll be two separate videos, one with the precursor and then the actual video itself. I feel like there was a lot lost in translation, and I should have listened to people that were trying to guide the conversation about what that video should have been, and that's my screw up, and I own that one.
I mean, it's trial and error, right? I mean, it's something you've never done before. It was learning.
I was so focused on having that music video done. That to me was that was the big. People might click on this, but it didn't occur. It did occur to me, but I'm like, do we have to do that whole video pre-setup?
Well, because you were worried about retention.
Yes,
that's what your big concern was, which still may be an issue. We have to try it to see.
Well, I think it'll be better for the music video if we do it that way. At least more people are waiting for it. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people didn't know we were coming out with a music video, and why. Why was the music video? There's only so much you can put in the title of the music video and the thumbnail, right? So I think that's the missed opportunity for me, and things are going to be a little different when it comes to that. We'll see how that goes in the future. A C414 song would be a great excuse. Do you have a C414, Dylan?
Nope. Again, it's on the.
I am not buying you a C414.
No, that's fair. I'll probably buy myself one at some point.
We'll put that one off until it makes a little bit more sense. I've not had that issue with the Blue Yeti. It might be the drivers or something. And you know what, Red Cabin? Every time I get my hands on a Blue Yeti, something like this happens. There's a buzz because of the cable or this or that. I have yet to have a great experience with a Blue Yeti, and the concept of doing the song with the Blue Yeti, I mean, it's not that important. I'm not going to do a video about how the Blue Yeti sucks, other than the short I did. So I think we're just going to part ways amicably. Me and Blue Yeti are we're just gonna realize the relationship isn't working. There's no sex anyways, so we're just gonna walk away from it. I think that's
good sex anyway.
Yeah. Do I still use a Stellar X2? Is it worth the $200? Stellar X2, I think, is worth easily $200. I don't use it as much because I have so much more at my disposal, and it kind of gets lost in the crowd. But it's still up on my counter there, so it is still there. Last time you know what, Stellar X2 would be a fun song to do with a song. I only have the one, and they're hard to get now. But for $200, yes, they are worth it. What's your thoughts on the Shure inner tube style shock mounts for stage mics? I like them. They're some of the best. They kind of set the market for it. Dylan?
What about tubes?
No, the Shure style of inner tube shock mount for stage mics.
Oh.
The little balloon in a tube.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the most effective shock absorption. I mean, I think one of the most effective sort of seismic absorption is the spider mount, which is why most expensive mics use it. But it's not exactly practical in most cases. No. So I think I like the SM7's shock absorption because it does do that pneumatic, the little tube, but it's a very fat one, so it has more absorption for movement than most mics that have it integrated like that have. But I don't mind it. Again, it's not the most effective, but given you're trying to work with something that someone's holding in their hand, it is what it is.
Ken, what is that tube mic you have, Aiden? That would be a killer mic to do a song with. That was the AKG P820. The review's coming out Monday. It is one of my favorite mics that I've ever used. I absolutely adore the sound of it.
I was going to say, next time I'm in Ottawa, we're going to do a shootout with the V13 and the P820.
And I'll probably have it by then. I didn't buy it this time. I was going to buy it flat out because I was like, all right, what should I buy? I asked Dylan. Dylan's like, buy the P820. Get it. You need to do it. But then I talked to the wife, and the wife's like, weren't you going to get one of those shotguns? I'm like, shotgun mic, yeah, the MKH416. She's like, you've been talking about that a lot longer. I'm like, I should get the shotgun mic. Also, the big deal with the shotgun mic was I can actually use the shotgun mic in almost everyday use. With the P820,
I have to say, I agree with the wife.
La wife. Oh, have I not used my wife's name?
Mrs. Dark Corners has been the standard. That's been the
I guess alias. I haven't outed her.
I just caught myself and I'm like,
I'm pretty sure I've let her name slip on the live stream. Anyways, so yeah, there's so much more I can use the MKH416. I love the P820. I am going to buy the P820, just not right now. So yeah, by the time you get here, I'll probably have purchased it. But for now, I've got to drop the money on the MKH416, which makes me a little sad. And yes, it would be a killer mic to do a song with. It would sound all tube mic song. I think that would be the challenge, Dylan.
That would be neat.
All tubes.
I'm down for this.
Yeah, all tube mics. Oh yeah. Man. All right. We'll put that on the list. Red Cabin, I've designed and mixed pros who use the SM57 handheld for vocals. Florence Henderson's favorite vocal mic.
I would challenge that.
What?
Only because the handling noise on a 57 is atrocious. So have fun mixing that.
Well, no, I don't. I don't think if you're in studio using it for voice, you are touching that microphone. That thing's
live. If you want to use it live, but the fact specifically says now again using a 57 as a vocal mic is fine, just not in your hand.
No.
Yeah, but the fact that you specifically said 57 handheld says that they were holding it in their hand, which I'm like, that's not advisable.
Yeah.
Hey, if it works, it's kind of like I remember one time I was talking to a coworker, similar kind of standoffish discussion, where we're talking about miking up an acoustic, which is always something that's up for debate. And there's many ways to do it, and there's a lot of great techniques. And he was saying, "Oh, he's like, I just take a PZM, like a pressure zone mic, and like a Crown PZM, and throw it in the sound hole inside the guitar, and just works great." And I'm like. And then I was kind of like, I don't know that that's would be my first approach. And he's like, well, and he, kind of pulled rank a little bit. He's like, well, I used to work with the engineer from Abbey Road, and that's what he does. And I'm like, well,
good for you.
I'd love to have a conversation with that guy on why that's his go-to. But it's like, okay.
No, it was the janitor for Abbey Road. Oh, I keep mixing those two up. Oh,
but it's like, janitor. Hey, everyone's finicky. There's stuff again. Like I've mic'd guitar amps with a shotgun mic, and people look at me like I have 3 heads. It's fair.
Yeah.
Everyone's got at least one little weird thing that they do that's totally not advisable, but somehow works creepily.
Well, that was the point of the last video I did. Literally, they're tools, and there was a time in audio, a time in music where engineers were trying to do things outside the box. The wall of sound is a perfect example of that. The wall of sound should have never been in music. Mm-hmm. Like the idea of that would have made people shudder a few years before.
And even like looking at some of the amazing records that we got out of the 60s and early 70s, where these things sound amazing and there's so much width and depth to the sound, but the engineers at the time in the professional space, there may have been like 20 different mic models available for purchase. Yeah. And somehow they still managed, even with that really low amount of stuff and like limited rack mount gear, they still got amazing sounds. So nowadays we have so many tools, and I mean, a lot of them are, as we proved with the 58, a lot of them are more capable than we give them credit for.
Well, like look at, I love the drum sound of the 80s. What's his name who came up with that? The
John Bonham.
No, basically the backwards reverb on the
the reverse reverb, on the snare.
Yeah. That whole concept came about because somebody's like, fuck it, let's see what happens.
And back now, putting reverse reverb on stuff is easy. There's literally a button. Back then that was a whole process, in the same way that in the 60s, because they didn't have tape machines that were more than 4 tracks, they would often have 2. And then they would use they couldn't dub stuff. So they had superimposition. They would have one tape machine and they would play it into the other tape machine while feeding in a second track, and it would print. So if you fucked up, that was it. Like it's printed onto that with everything else. So there's we take a lot of the ease of doing stuff today for granted.
No kidding. My $125 MK600 pawn shop buy was great. Yeah. I've thought about going and just buying, because my thought process was the Rode NTG3 I could go buy, but the Rode NTG3 is only a couple $100 less than the Sennheiser MKH416. So why not just spend the extra couple bucks and get the king of all shotgun microphones? Then I'm like, well, the MKE600, but then I'm like, yeah, but then I'm always going to be sitting here going, I should have bought the MKH416. So I'm just doing it. I've been looking for it on sale. I can't find it. I'm just going to pull the trigger and buy the bloody mic. NT2A nice on acoustic. Yes, it is. I want to get a second NT2A.
So hang on. I'm sort of going back to Red Cabin's sort of response, which is fair. So Henderson, she used a 57 in a Broadway setting. I'm just trying to think practically.
Oh no, it just says she spent years on Broadway before TV.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I just assumed this was related to the mic because that's what we're talking about. It didn't work. I didn't think it would work, but it did. As a hand, so just to clarify, are we talking the 57 in a hand or on a stick?
I don't think so.
Very different.
I don't think it's in the hand. I can't imagine.
I hope not. If it is, I'm going to be very surprised.
Who would record an album with a handheld mic? In their hand.
There's a lot of, it's mainly in hip hop, but there's a lot of rap guys that in studio, because they like getting in the zone and getting into the live space, that they'll actually record with a 58 and they'll actually just do it that way.
I could see that. Well, hip hop would be one of the few exceptions.
Yeah, or like I could see certain metal bands, like a lot of screamo stuff I've seen where people have kind of done that.
Cupping the mic
really,
for that excellent
oh yeah,
sound.
they're getting into the zone, right? So it's like that was a terrible screamo impression.
Yeah, Bang says this. I have a Sennheiser ME6 plus 6 shotgun, and it's very nice. I've never heard of the ME6 plus 6, but I regret not just getting an MKH 416 or an 8060. Yeah, and I don't want to be caught with that, so fuck it. I'm just buying it. 416 at that price, it better be top of the line. MKH 416 is 1,300 Canadian dollars. It's $1,000 US, and it's considered the number one.
It's one of the industry standards
for voiceover, for booming, for like, it's the industry standard for so much stuff. It's just, it makes so much sense. And why cut corners at that price? Like, it's $1,000 isn't a lot of money. Let's be honest.
For a mic, no. I mean, again, U87's 4 times that.
Yeah, Sean says break the bank, get the Blue Yeti. Sean, you haven't missed much. Don't worry. Just a couple guys crying into mics. They say the neon lights are bright on Broadway. The neon lights are. You guys are making me think about Paul Revere by Beastie Boys with the reverse bass. Paul Revere by Beastie Boys. I'm trying to think. I can't even hear it in my head. I wasn't a big BB fan back in the day. We've been going for an hour. How you feeling, Dylan? Yeah, you look pretty rough, buddy.
I was gonna say I tried to do like a hand gesture there, but I couldn't bring myself to bring my elbow off the table, so I just let it do this, which doesn't mean anything. But I'm just going with it.
Beresford, I dare you to get a Neumann KMS 82i. No idea what that is, but it sounds expensive. ME66K6 is an odd.
I don't spend money on something like that unless I've used it and know, that it's good. Like, for example, one of my next bigger purchases is probably going to be a matched pair of KM184s.
Nice.
Because I've used those in the studio for years, and they're like my favorite pencil mics.
Oh, so it's K6 body with removable capsules for shotgun, short shotgun. That's kind of cool. Still no MKH 416 all the way. 100%. Should have started with the Zip Fizz.
Yeah, then I'm gonna have the opposite problem. Then I'm not gonna sleep tonight.
Yeah. What's with like regular illnesses making a return? This was my first day out of bed this week. Yeah, I had a little
again. We've all our immune systems are sleeping, folks. We've been spending the last 2 years not exposed to any germs. So now our immune systems are all like, oh, right, I got to do stuff again. Okay.
It's like not lifting weights for a couple years, and then all of a sudden you have to lift up the front end of a car.
Yeah.
Your immune system's the same thing. It's just a muscle.
It needs to be flexed on the regular.
Your baseball game's is the Jays game rained out? No, Jays game can't be rained out. I'm looking.
I'm like not. Where are they playing? Is it Toronto?
No, they're in Blue Jays. They're in Cleveland.
Okay,
to be announced.
Say can't be Toronto because I'm looking in that direction.
It's fully postponed.
Wah, wah.
Wah, wah. All right. Well, I got a Leaf game tonight, so it's not a big deal. All right. Well, you guys have yourself a great weekend. Thanks for joining us. We actually had a decent amount of people in on this.
Well, that's new.
Oh, no, we usually get about the same amount. Yeah.
Comments.
Oh,
comments.
Go Bruins. I don't have a spleen.
No, north of that.
I don't have a spleen?
Yeah.
Oh. That sucks. Yeah, you should get a spleen.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's non-sequential and I'm tired. And non-sequential things are very funny when I'm tired.
82i almost twice the price of an MKH 416. I've used an MKH 416. I know what I'm getting. The Come Up promo official. Before we go, audio interface question. Focusrite versus M Audio Air 192 4 versus Native Instruments Complete Audio 1. Avoid Native Instruments Complete Audio 1.
Ken, fuck off.
I would avoid the Native Instruments Complete Audio 1. I've heard some okay things about it. I haven't reviewed it, but I have also heard a lot of garbage things about it.
In general, even the Native Instruments Complete Control S series keyboards, well, and the other letter series keyboards. The S88, I've heard is great. It's also the most expensive MIDI controller I've ever seen. And really, from what I've seen, the only real benefit to the Native Instruments hardware is its very seamless integration with the software side, which I will give them credit. That is important because the complete bundle is now well over 1 terabyte in size. of stuff to navigate. So if they can make a hardware interface to navigate that, that's
Do you
pretty
get any
awesome.
of that bundle with the interfaces?
I don't know. Probably not.
Probably not, no. Focusrite has always been my favorite. M-Audio Air 192.4 is actually a very decent interface. I've always preferred Focusrite over them. I like the look of the Focusrite, and I know that sounds bad, but in that price point, like when you're in the like $200 price point, they're all basically the same. There's not much separating them. Few numbers here and there, maybe EIN's 1 digit lower or 1 digit higher. You're not going to find much. Like, you're not going to find something that blows something else out of the water at that price point. So either one will probably do you quite well. And it's not that I don't want to be here. I just have a job. Oh, Sean, that's okay, man. You can check it.
Jobs suck. Don't fire me.
Hospitalized, thank you. Bangs Naughty Bits, red cabin acoustic with the AW81 windscreen. Anyways. All right, guys. We're going to let Dylan go to sleep. Have yourselves a great weekend. We will see you nice and early on Friday, 5 o'clock-ish, give or take. And video coming 11 a.m. Monday.
So apparently, yeah. So he just confirmed. So she used the 57 handheld every night. That is weird.
Yeah.
If you have any samples or any links or something of if there's any footage, I'd be curious to assess how it sounds and how ridiculous the handling and plosive noise would be on 57. But I'll take your word for it. If you say it sounded good, I'm going to assume it probably must have somehow surprisingly sounded
just
good.
Didn't shake it around vigorously, you know.
Well, it must have been a very dainty performance for the most part because you can't even be that active with a 58, let alone a 57.
You ever see like performers holding?
This is where Red Cabin comes back and says, actually, she's doing somersaults with it.
You ever see performers holding the microphone with just a couple fingers?
Mm-hmm.
So they'll hold it with the three-finger
They're
approach?
minimizing the points of contact.
Yes, and that's probably what she did. Was she was 3-finger hold on the microphone?
Well, that's
and
the
it
trick
didn't move around.
when they do those fluid, like those dolly shots, when they get the camera off that have the harnesses.
Yeah,
and they're getting like really the fluid shots. And the key there is minimizing the points of contact with hard surfaces.
Yep. All right. She was probably good at the quiet handling. All right. Have yourself a great weekend, guys. Cheers.